Okay, y'all. So since I can never get any of you guys to fucking show up to anything at any one point in time, this is how I know that you guys rely more on me and what I say than actually going through the course. Because step 2 and 3 is literally what I'm about to do right now. To get the right or the proper wick placement, or to get yourself to a point where you can see what you're doing and how you're doing it. It's the same thing every day, every week, every month. You go up to the monthly and you figure out what you see. And you literally map out the chart. Basically, you can damn near speculate what's going to happen on the right to the left. And then you actually go into your actual trading software. You find the most dominant wicks on the monthly, which are here and here. Then you go back to the weekly after you've identified all the dominant wicks, which you have 2 sets and one below. You have to pay attention to this. You have a dominant wick to the low. How you guys, I guess, interpret it? That's slanted, not flat. So technically, that would be the pole of that slant, which would suggest, even on the monthly, 1 candle, 2 candle, 3 candle, 4. That's a flag. It's coming up. That from the monthly to the weekly. There's your predominant pole right there. And now you reassess. Are there any other lines that you have to fix or manipulate in any way, shape, or form? You can take a line and draw it from here to here, and it lines up. Go down to the weekly or to the daily. Now, what are you looking at? You've got a chunk of purple and a blue candle. Another chunk of purple and a blue candle. Being this high on the time frame, everything is going to be concentrated. So what would usually be 4 is now, let me just more accurately for you. What is usually 4 is now 2. Slant. Flat. From wick to wick to wick. Slant. From the base of this corner flat. So this squared would be 4, or 2 times 2. Next, you got, I know it sounds stupid, count 1 green candle, 2 green candles, 3 green candles, 4. You've got a slant here. You have another slant here, but it's going the same way. So even if it came down as such, it's slanted there and slanted there, which means it's going to come into a wedge. Down. What happens in a falling wedge? It goes up. Make sense? You have to start visualizing this in your mind. So let me draw that and that. By the way, Juan, it is after 6 o'clock. You have yet to check in with me. H4. Move your lines up accordingly. And reassess. If you're only doing this on one chart, you should know what it's doing day by day by day. So now, you have this corner here, and it's pretty safe to assume, since you have a slant here, and this is dropping, and you can even come back, like I was talking to Juan last night. If it makes sense in your mind, if you want to come as far back as the candle before it and pull straight, you're still getting the slant on top and the flat spot on the bottom, because that candle is stopping right there. So from wick to wick, what I'm saying is from these two slanted wicks right here, slanted on top, it's still flat on the bottom. This is just the basics of pattern trading. This has nothing to do with the counting. So see that wick that I'm slapping into, it was flat, it broke through it. Just that tiny little bit broke through. So you know that your sell would be valid. But you wouldn't want to hop in just yet because the move already happened. So you want it to retrace. Good thing you're way back on the H4. So now you go to the H1, right? And here's your move. Yeah, you can hear Kyla screaming in the background. So just as a rough doodah, grab it from any of the outside wicks that you find is dominant in your mind. If you're having problems with that, tag me or ask me a question. I'll tell you where to draw your lines at. It might be sloppy, but I'll show you where to draw the line. Grab it from wick to wick to wick. Well, that candle is breaking through that line. So obviously it's not the purple candle that I have it on. But if I bring this up one candle and I pull outward, now all three, as of now, line up. On a retrace, how many candles happen on a retrace? 3, which sounds pretty interesting since slant from wick to wick, drop 1, drop 2, drop 3. What does that mean? That right here on the M5, you have 3 patterns down. So you have 1 set of green, 2 set of green, 3 sets of green, 4. I'm not talking about the pattern. I'm just talking about the color placement. So that you understand further, I'm going to go in and delete the deep pink candle. You'll see 4 sections. Oh, that didn't work. There are 4 sections. I have to color them in so you get it. 4, 3, 2, and there's this guy right up here. 1. Now, if we put all those lines together, you get a wedge pattern. So, if you think you're inaccurate or you don't know if you see the pattern correctly or not, come from the candles to the line chart and apply it. And there's your wedge. So, go back to the candle charts. We reapply the color. That's nauseating. So, there's your drop. Go to the M30. Move whatever analysis drawings you have over. The lower the time frame, remember, always wick to wick. If I run that red line right up, and I pull from the back on the bottom, and I pull from the front on the top, you will find the wedge every time. I promise. So I said M5, but it looks like it's going to be more M15. What I mean by that is the pattern. So you've got pattern 1, drop, retrace, pattern 2, which is your wedge, pattern 3, descending symmetrical triangle, and I dropped. All the while, on every time frame, yes, I know your chart is going to start looking like Battlestar Galactica. Grab your wicks and your lines. After a while, you're not going to need to draw these lines. You'll be able to do it in your mind and trust your own analysis and your own bias against what's going on. Go to the M5 and you can now grab, once you can start to see it, you got a slant here and a slant here. So that would be an inverted symmetrical triangle or a broadening wedge, however you want to look at it. You now have a slant here and a flat spot here. So hopefully this helps when you go to mark up odd USD. So if I start to delete all these lines, you can start to visualize in your mind what I'm talking about. Because up on the weekly, you can see it that way. Or you can even see it this way. Either way, calling it a head and shoulders pattern, you would be accurate 100%. So what happens on the left is going to happen on the right shoulder. So you can tag me. I'm awake. I just went through well, a rugby player kicked me in the balls. So even though I don't really need them because I'm not allowed to have kids, it still hurts like a motherfucker. So more than likely what I'm thinking is going to happen, I'm thinking that's going to turn into a symmetrical triangle and drop. As a guesstimate, roughly about there. That's on the weekly. That's a pretty nasty fucking fall. You know, at a pip ratio, that's 3,900 pips. That's a fucking payout right there, ladies and gentlemen. Because if I were to just drop a random line, and let me get this as thin as I possibly can. And I draw this line accurately. And I delete everything from my Zoom play and take away the extra lines. And all I do is just insert and I come to the daily. Still seems pretty valid. H1. And I zoom out a lot. And line everything up again. Ah. I gotta pull my nose forward. Excuse me. It is still very valid. M30 valid. M15 valid. And as I know, this is where I sound like a trading guru or weirdo. I'm pretty sure if I zoom in, that's a triangle for that to drop. But just because I'm a weirdo, let's go find out. Like, you know, like a symmetrical or a descending. There you go. Thank God. There it is right there. So hopefully this video helps. because odd USD is the easiest chart to trade, and you guys can make a lot of money. Just stop second guessing yourself and don't be afraid. That's it.